You bought your house 3 years ago for $400,000. You put $80,000 down, 20%. You did everything right. Your mortgage payment is $2,500 a month. But then there's property taxes, another $500. Homeowners insurance, $250. HOA fees, $200. That's $3,450 a month before you've fixed a single broken thing. Last year, the roof needed repairs, $12,000. The HVAC system died, $8,000. The water heater went out, $2,000. You spent $22,000 on maintenance in 1 year, on top of your $41,000 in annual housing costs. Your house rich and cash poor. You've got $400,000 sitting in your house, but you're living paycheck to paycheck. You can't invest. You can't save. You can't take opportunities. And when you try to sell to access that equity, you discover that after realtor fees and closing costs, you'll net maybe $30,000 more than you paid. 3 years of payments, $60,000 in maintenance, and you made $30,000. You could have put that money in an index fund and made more with zero stress and complete liquidity. My name is Yaji, and I spend way too much time thinking about why the biggest financial decision most people make, buying a home, often turns out to be their worst investment when you actually run the numbers. If you're someone who's been told your whole life that renting is throwing money away and homeownership is the path to wealth, or you're wondering why you feel broker after buying a house than you did before, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out, because what I'm about to show you is going to challenge everything you've been told about homeownership. And I'm not saying buying a house is always wrong. I'm saying the automatic assumption that it's always the smart financial move is killing people's wealth in 2026. Let's start by killing the biggest myth. That paying rent is throwing money away while paying a mortgage builds wealth. Here's the thing. When you pay rent, yes, that money is gone. But when you pay a mortgage, most of that money is also gone. It's going to interest, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Let me show you the math. You buy a $400,000 house with $80,000 down. Your mortgage is $320,000 at 7% interest over 30 years. Your monthly payment is about $2,100 just for principal and interest. In year 1, you pay about $25,000 in mortgage payments, but only $3,000 goes to principal. The other $22,000 is interest. Add property taxes at $12,000 a year, insurance at $3,000. Maintenance at 1% of home value, another $4,000. Your total cost of ownership in year 1 is about $44,000. But you only built $3,000 in equity. You spent $44,000 to gain $3,000. That's not wealth building. That's wealth destruction. Now compare that to renting a comparable place for $3,000 a month. That's $36,000 a year. But you didn't spend $80,000 on a down payment. You invested that $80,000 in an S&P 500 index fund at 10% returns. That's $8,000 in year 1. Plus, you save $8,000 per year by renting instead of owning. That's $44,000 ownership costs, minus $36,000 rent. You invest that $8,000 too. In year 1, the renter invested $80,000 that grew to $88,000, plus they invested another $8,000. They're at $96,000. The homeowner spent $80,000 on a down payment and $44,000 in ownership costs to gain $3,000 in equity. They're net negative $41,000 compared to the renter. Now you might be thinking, but Yaji, the house appreciates in value. That's where the wealth comes from. And you're right, houses do appreciate, historically about 3 to 4% annually. But here's what most people don't realize. That appreciation barely keeps up with inflation, and it comes with massive opportunity cost. Your $400,000 house appreciates at 3%. That's $12,000 a year. But you've got $320,000 tied up in a mortgage at 7%. You're paying $22,000 in interest to gain $12,000 in appreciation. You're net negative $10,000 per year just on the interest versus appreciation math. Meanwhile, the stock market historically returns 10%. That $80,000 down payment in the market would have grown to $88,000 in year 1. An $8,000 gain. The house gave you $12,000 in appreciation. The stocks gave you $8,000, so the house won, right? Wrong. Because you didn't account for the $41,000 in total costs minus the $3,000 in equity, you're still deeply negative. Here's where it gets really interesting. The liquidity problem. You need $20,000 for a business opportunity, or a medical emergency, or your kid's college. If your money is in stocks, you sell some shares. Done. Money in your account in 2 days. If your money is in your house, you have 3 options. Take out a home equity loan and pay interest. Do a cash-out refinance and reset your mortgage. Or sell the house, pay 6% to realtors, pay closing costs, move, and hope you time the market right. Your wealth is trapped. It's illiquid. And illiquid assets are less valuable than liquid assets even if they're worth the same on paper. This is called the liquidity premium. And it's why stocks trade at higher valuations than real estate with similar returns. Then there's the concentration risk. When you buy a house, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. One property, one location, one market. If that neighborhood declines, your wealth declines. If the local economy tanks, your wealth tanks. If a highway gets built next to your house, your wealth evaporates. According to CoreLogic data, about 15 to 20% of U.S. housing markets see price declines in any given year. You're rolling the dice on a single property. Compare that to an index fund with 500 companies across every sector and geography. Your risk is spread. One company tanks. You barely notice. But one house tanks, and your entire net worth is destroyed. Now let me tell you about two people who both had $80,000 to invest in 2015. Person 1 bought a $400,000 house. Over 10 years, the house appreciated to $550,000. They paid down about $50,000 of principal. They have $100,000 in equity after selling costs. But they spent $450,000 in mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, and maintenance over those 10 years. Their $80,000 down payment plus $450,000 in costs gave them $100,000 in equity. Their net negative $430,000. Person 2 rented for $3,000 a month and invested the $80,000 plus the difference in costs. Over 10 years, at 10% returns, they now have about $380,000. Same starting amount. Same 10 years. But person 2 has almost $300,000 more in liquid wealth. Now, I'm not saying buying a house is always wrong. Here's when it makes sense. Buy if you're planning to stay 10 plus years. The longer you stay, the more the appreciation and principal paydown compound. Buy if you're in a rapidly appreciating market and you can actually afford it comfortably. Buy if your mortgage payment is equal to or less than rent for a comparable place. Buy if you've maxed out retirement accounts and have significant liquid savings. Buy if you want a home for lifestyle reasons and you understand you're paying a premium for that lifestyle. But don't buy because you think renting is throwing money away. Don't buy because everyone says you should. Don't buy because you think it's automatically the smart financial move. Run the numbers for your specific situation. Compare total cost of ownership to renting and investing the difference. Factor in opportunity cost, liquidity, and concentration risk. Sometimes the math works. Often, especially in 2026, with high interest rates and inflated home prices, it doesn't. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Your home is where you live. It might be an okay investment, but it's not the guaranteed wealth builder it was sold to you as. The safest financial asset is a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds that you can access instantly, that generates passive income, and that doesn't need a new roof every 15 years. Homeownership can be part of your financial plan, but it shouldn't be the foundation of it. Not in 2026. Build liquid wealth first. Max out retirement accounts. Build a taxable brokerage account. Get to a place where you're financially stable and flexible. Then, if buying a home makes sense for your lifestyle and the numbers work, buy. But buy from a position of strength, not desperation or social pressure. If this video challenged your assumptions about homeownership, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me, are you a homeowner who wishes you'd rented, or a renter who's glad you didn't buy? And if you want more contrarian financial advice that actually helps you build wealth, check out the next video on the screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.